All right, so back in the IDE here, I'm going to go into the demo folder and let's just create a new file in here. Let's see, this is the index. Yeah, we'll leave these as is. I'm going to create a new file and well, make sure it's inside here. I'm going to go right in here and do it again. And I'll call this just app.Js. Okay, and then so what we're going to do is we need to import one of the modules, the HTTP module. So that's the first thing we need to do here on the very first line. Let me close this X here. So I'm going to go and say constant HTTP, it's just an object, you can call whatever you want, require the HTTP module. Now it should come with Node by default. When you install Node, it comes with it. It's a global module. And then we want to create a server, and we want to assign the server to another variable. It's very commonly called server itself. You can call it whatever you want, again, just an object. And we're going to use the HTTP create server function. Now this function here takes anonymous function, and I'm going to just use the ES6 syntax, or the arrow function, that takes two parameters. The first is the request object. You can use the whole word request, or just the letter REQ. It's very common to use that as well, but I'm going to just use the whole request so we can see that in here easily. And then the second is the response object. All right, so in here then, we're going to write some code in there in a minute. But before I go on there, I want to go down here and then create a server. We'll actually make this server listen to a port number. Okay, you need to listen to port number, otherwise it's not going to respond to any port, so it won't work. Okay, and you can just do that if you want, but you also want to output something to the console so we can see what's going on. And again, it takes another anonymous function here. I just put a message here to say console log, and then I'll put here HTTP. Just put the link here, localhost. Oh, I don't really like that. Localhost port 3000 by default. Okay, so just put that there, and then it's going to print that to the console when we run it. Okay, so now inside here, then we're going to, if it's going to be an HTML document, then usually you want to write the header to say so. So I'm going to say response.writeHead, and you can do one of two ways. You can use the head function, or you can say the set head and write the information. That's fine too. So we're going to write head takes a few things. As you can see, the first is the status code. So you want to be at 200. That means it's okay, right? Everything's good. And then the next is the content type. So content dash type. You can use a key value pair like this. This will be a text HTML, or you can also use an object like this. This is fine too. If I do that, then just change that to a colon. So either way should be fine. And then, so we're gonna write the header for that, and then we're gonna write a message to the browser. So we're gonna use the write function, and in here I'm gonna use the H1, and I'll put a message, just say something like welcome to Node.js. Close my H1. You can see it's a lot of work to type, right? Because it's a very low level. And just make sure that when you are done, you always want to end it. If you don't end it, it's going to be a problem. Okay? And that's all we need to do this little short example here. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to run this code, and let's go to the terminal. Again, you can press the Control backtick, or go to view and then click on terminal, take you there. So now I want to go into the demo folder and make sure that I see the app in there. So I do see, which is right here. I'm going to run that. And let me click the console again. So I'm going to go node app.js. Okay, as you can see, there are no errors, so we're good to go. This is the link that I added here in my code, right? That's why I wanted to see what's going on, so we can know what's happening inside the server. And since it's here, I can just basically right click or control click this link here, and it should load the browser. And we're going to go right to the browser and see. So there's a message, welcome to Node.js. Okay, if you do a source view, right click the source view, you see that's exactly what we typed in our source code. Okay, so that's how you create a web server. It loads this HTTP localhost and port 3000. Now let's go back to the code. I'm going to show you something. Again, I mentioned earlier that if you don't close the end function here, so for example, let's just say I comment that out. Okay, if I save it again, go to the terminal, I have to restart my server again, so Ctrl+C, and then just press the up arrow and then run it again. I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, so I see the content, but you see that this, spinning icon up here on the left on the tab, it keeps going, right? So it's causing this app or this page to actually, it's like you're in an infinite loop because it's waiting for this response to end and it doesn't come. So also if you press the F12 key and if you go to the network tab, and let's just stop this and do another refresh. Okay, so this spinning again. If you click on the localhost over here on the blue bar, if you mouse over that, it will tell you there's a caution that says request is not finished. Okay, so that's why it's really important to end that response. So that means you need to end it, otherwise it won't continue on, and so we have a blocking issue. Okay, so since you are writing a lot of code using the write function, you can do a lot of HTML here, and if this is the only one that you use, you can use the write function to do that. Or just in case you might forget to put the end, it's always wise to put that inside the end function instead, so you don't have to use the write function. I can just omit that, and I'm ended that here anyway, so it's gonna be much safer that way, so I won't forget to end that response. Okay, and another reason why you see that, why do you have to save it to a variable server.server? Because I can also chain this together to look something like that. You can chain it that way and save you some typing. It's either way works fine. If I go ahead and save that and I go back to the terminal and run it, it should still work. The reason why you save it to a variable, again, if I don't use a variable, I can just do this. It'll work too. It just works just fine. I put a message here, welcome to Node.js. I put a 2 exclamation marks so we know for sure it's working. Let me save that. Go back to the terminal. Let's stop this again and run it one more time. And then back to the browser. I'm going to refresh it. And so here's my 2 exclamation marks. It shows that it does work, right? No problem. Now, so the reason why you want to use a variable is because sometimes you want to create multiple servers, and you can create multiple servers on the same file. That's why I use a variable called server here, and maybe because I might want to have another one, let me copy this and put it down here. This will be a server 2. Okay, maybe server 2 might have a different port number. Let's say maybe port 4000. Right, and I put a 4000 here so you can see. And this could be doing something else, but I'll just put here Node.js 2 so we know that it's in version 2. So let me save that and go to the terminal and cancel that. Clear my console, run my app, and you see that now I have 2 links. One is the 4000, one is the 3000. So I have 2 servers running at the same time, but they are running at their own port. So if I go to the browser, refresh it, this is the first one. If I go ahead and duplicate this and change it to 4000, so there we go, the Node 2 and the Node. So you have 2 servers running at the same time. And it's kind of interesting because now you can have this, server talking to the other server here on the browser. So you have the full advantage of creating these servers in Node.js. So now that we know how to create a server, in the next video, we'll learn how to respond to HTTP requests.